bad stuff in order to feel power, and it can lead them to like, the actions that they do. I don't know.
Well, we saw it like year before last, right, with the riots. You see people who are attacking stores and bringing them down, and it's easy for us to sit back and say that's because you have low moral character. But the fact of the matter is you have a lot of people who are running around feeling powerless, feeling like they don't have a say, feeling like they can't do anything. And if you can't do anything, so let's say that it's the fact of human existence that we want to matter in some way. And so we want to be able to act in the world in a way that actually impacts the world. But if you can't do anything positive, then how are you going to behave? The other side, in a destructive way, a negative way. Now this is why I talk about the importance that if you ideally, at the very least, don't make the world a worse place. And by the way, this is a really hard thing for a lot of us to do, because our natural tendency as humans is we want to make the world a better place, most of us. But if we can't do that, then we go on the other extreme and we make the world a worse place. This is actually one of the most difficult places to inhabit. Making the world a neutral place, because again, we want to have some kind of an impact. We want to feel like we matter in some way. If this makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when you see people who, well, like I said, going back a couple of years, when you see people rioting, burning down stores, attacking, looting, I mean, yeah, is there something going on there in the communities? Of course there is. And by the way, this doesn't mean that therefore we sit there and say, oh, well, we accept it because, you're weaker than us, because that is the message that we send in that case. It's like, I'm capable of this, but you're not. Well, then, of course, you're just going to get more and more of this. There's more and more alienation from society. If people feel like they can't act positively in society, they feel alienated from it. They feel like they're not part of it. And if you're not part of it, then you're angry about it, and so you tear it down. No surprises there. And this is a fact that we see about human nature throughout all of history, not just recent. We have this tendency so often to say that things are different now because of, and we always go back to that same reason, technology. Like somehow technology, no, it's taken us a few 100,000 years to get to where we are right now as a species. I mean, millions if you want to go further back than that. The human condition doesn't change. In fact, that's part of the problem that we're experiencing. The human condition hasn't caught up to living in cities and existing with technology. It's like I was just talking to one of you recently. I don't think it was in this class. I apologize if you're in here. But I was talking to somebody recently, and I was saying that this huge difference between, for example, my generation. I'm only a generation ahead of you guys. That when my friends and I would go do something stupid on the weekend, there was no record of that. If I would say something stupid to somebody, there was no text message record of that. It was just like, Scanlon said X, Y, and Z, and people are like, oh my God. And then you forget about it. In other words, there's a lot of opportunities for us to improve and get better. There's a lot of opportunities for us to make mistakes and then learn from them. As of now, you guys don't really have an opportunity to make mistakes. You get thrashed over the coals if you make a little bit of a mistake, and so that takes away your desire to take a risk. And if you can't take risks in society, well then you can't do this. Because that's how you learn where in here you are. And so we try to settle in here, but of course, like I said, this is a very difficult place for us to moderate. So we end up going on this side over here, essentially thrashing people who do take risks and do take chances. Because, if we don't call them out, we're going to get called out ourselves. And so that's one thing that's absolutely changed. That like I said, there was no record of it. There is now. And so maybe we want to scale back from that. But good luck. Because even if you do it, the person next to you is not going to. But maybe we can't control what other people do, but we can control what we do. Maybe we can be, like Henry David Thoreau said, we must see to it at any rate that we don't participate in the evils that we condemn.